the recording along with the slide deck will be sent to all who registered, because there's a lot of information on the slide deck. So you guys will get the deck, you will get the recording as long as you registered. And that's perfect. Charissa says she can attest to the outstanding support. Sue says support is amazing. So again, like, you guys are very, very, very well loved. And I know I just have to tell people, just go try it. You're going to love it. That's all there is to it. And they get in there and you guys, you don't make me to be a liar. And I love that. it's you back that, but you believe that. So which makes it absolutely amazing. Yeah. So thank you for that. So this is Smooth Year End. We're getting into year end season here. So this is perfect timing for this is Smooth Year End with Xenett. Hello, I'm Tanya Hilts. I'm a certified professional bookkeeper. I thought I updated this slide. I also was granted my fellow or awarded my fellow. So I'm an FCPB as well as an AIA designation and a level 5 certified advisor. But I'm here because I'm passionate about clean files, and you can find me at Tanya's Bootcamp, Facebook, Twitter, or X as they call it now, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, at Tanya's Bootcamp everywhere, LinkedIn. You can find me there. I am not going to go through this, just a little bit about myself. There's my industry designations. I've got recent accolades here. The most important things is that I think that, we were the 2018 Intuit Global Firm of the Future. So that was an amazing honor to be awarded, excuse me, for that. I'm a member of the Intuit QuickBooks Trainer Writer Network and a CPB Canada past director, past finance chair, and past treasurer, and a current committee member of the Public Affairs Committee and the Ethics and Discipline Committee. And I'm the CEO and founder of Cloud Business Services and Tanya's Bookkeepers Bootcamp. And here's Hardik. So Hardik, would you like to let everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you already give the brief introduction, but again, I'm just gonna quickly introduce myself, guys. So I'm Hardik. I'm one of the founder at Xenett. I'm an accountant with more than 15 years of experience, and as Tanya mentioned, we created Xenett to solve our own problems first, and then eventually we got into this space. So it's been 3 years. We have been kind of working on this app. So previously it was just us who were building this app, but now it's like more than thousands of accountants who are helping us to create this robust product. So yeah, that's a pretty quick introduction of who we are and what we do. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. That's perfect. Thank you. So before we get into this, we have partnered with Xenett for a contest. So if you went by their booth, you will get one entry in, and that was the booth at QuickBooks Connect. There's also the Win a Bootcamp. I know it's been out on social. So every time you go through there, you get an entry. By attending this webinar live and staying more than 50% through the webinar, you get 5 entries. And if you book a demo, you get 10 entries with them. So there is going to be one of the polls is going to ask if you do want a demo booked, because we are pulling the draw on Monday. We're getting close to the holidays. And then after coming back from QVC with my injury, there was a little bit of a, kind of a delay with this. So you don't have to have the demo, but if you don't attend the demo, that actually will impact your eligibility of the prizes. So what we'll do is, if again, on this poll, if you want to book a demo, you say yes. We will make sure that they get in contact. And if you don't show up, if you did win a prize on the 18th, that will affect your eligibility. So make sure you show up for that demo. If you are already a Xenett user and you are like, I'd love to get those extra points, but I'm already a user, guess what? There's going to be an option for that. We'll just need to verify that you're a user, and then you get those extra entries, because we want to thank you for being a Xenett user. And there's over $4,000 in prizes. So there's all that. Full details are bookkeepersbootcamp.ca/win a bootcamp. And the draw will be live Monday at noon on December 23rd. So yeah, so that's awesome. So again, stay more than 50%, and we find out what the stats Zoom tells us, and then get that have that demo. So those of you who attend many of my webinars know that I really like to look for quotes. I actually enjoy looking for quotes, and so this is the one that I found today: is focus on being productive rather than busy. And this really ties into what we're trying to show you is a really nice smooth year end. And that was Tim Ferriss. Also, we'll just kind of go through. Chris, don't worry about the demo. Just answer right. Just say yes to book it. That's fine. We'll make sure you have it. Don't worry about that, Chris. So if you've got stuff you want to talk to everybody, go ahead in chat. If you've got questions, hit them in the Q&A, and then either Hardik or myself or anybody else on the team will be able to kind of answer those questions as we're going. Or but it'll be easier to put the questions in the Q&A and chat in chat. So feel free to, again, share in chat. And maybe while we're starting, those that are existing Xenett users, what is your favorite thing or your favorite feature about Xenett? So throw that in the chat, and maybe we'll do an extra draw for the person who has the best one. So yeah, so here this is. And I actually pulled this picture right from one of Xenett's previous webinars, and it's escape the year end rush and learn to close out the year right. And I personally would love to be that relaxed in that environment doing the year end. And you know what? It's actually possible. So so that's awesome. And then Hardik, as we're going through, you and I have done enough webinars together. As we're going through, if there's anything, like, I think everybody knows that it's more of a relaxed environment. Just jump in if there's anything that you feel that I'm
Absolutely.
Just to jump in. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're going to learn here is understand the traditional year-end close, steps in the year-end close process, a deep dive into the year-end close process, essential review checklist that must be diligently followed, a detailed review of financial statements with real world use cases. So that we're going to kind of talk about, and then efficiently creating and organizing work papers and review notes. So again, we're going to talk about that, not actually demo that, but this is all in here, and this is what you're going to learn. And I have any new accountant that I work with that once they see the quality of my books once, I move to the top of the list for them to refer people to. And I strategically love to work with accountants who either don't have the same ideal client that I have, or have same ideals, or deal with slightly different things, so that way we don't have to worry. It's a really nice equal working relationship and referring relationship. And as soon as they see my work once, like I say, I move to the top because it makes their life easier, makes the client happy, and that makes us happy and proves value, all of that. So the close process, review them in QuickBooks or Xero, whatever you're using on that. Then you've got your close task and checklist that you go through. You prepare the working papers, communicate with the team and clients, review the notes and any observations, and then the financial package. Now, if you're not preparing the tax return, it's going to look slightly different from the bookkeeping perspective, but we can still do all the way down to 5, because we do prepare working papers for the accountant to work with. We do all the a lot of the communication. Then we send everything off and we give them our notes and observations on the files. Then the accountants are going to go through and they're going to, repeat a little bit of 4, do 5, review everything, and then they're going to be able to go through and close everything out and provide the financial package. How many think this looks like a traditional review type system? You're going all over the place. I know my year-end reviews used to take, my clean files used to take like 6 to 8 hours just to go through and grab everything. We have changed the way that we do things. First off, Xenett helps us do a monthly review, so that way we caught a lot of stuff, but it actually can start to help prepare with, a couple of little things, and using proper queries through them or review points, we can make it a lot easy. So yeah, this is not what it looks like. This is traditional. We're modern accounting now. So this is not what it looks like. So Hardik, do you have any points on this, or any notes on this? This is what you guys used to do internally before auto review, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the major challenge that I was personally going through is that, unfortunately, year end comes the same for all the clients at the same time. Like, it's like at some point I might be kind of working on 20 different clients and everyone has got the same deadline. So it was really getting stressful at times to work on the year end for all of them. So this was one of the challenge that we were personally finding it and facing it. Another thing that was, there's a lot of manual work involved. Not only we got to find and review things for all the clients manually, but it also used to take so much of time communicating with the people. And then, like, let's say my junior people would fix it, then it comes back to us, we again review. There's a lot of rework. And the third most important thing was, like, like, imagine like this, we used to have a checklist somewhere in Excel. We're looking at things in QuickBooks, and then if I had any questions for my internal people or for my client, then the communication also gets happen somewhere else, right? And even our working papers used to stay inside in Excel files. So it's like we were literally doing activities, every little activities at different places. So that was really inefficient way of getting things done, especially with the close process. I mean, that was the trigger point. Like, that's how we got into this space. So
Well, and I know a lot of people still work with Excel, pull working sheets out and work with that. But if you're not working with an actual working papers within software, some of the inefficiencies and errors that can happen with Microsoft Excel, and I know this happened all the time, and it took more time to ensure it was done right. So we grab the profit and loss, the year over year, copy, pull that down into Excel and copy and put it into, our ones with, or each of our different tabs. We go through, we make notes on things. Then we find out, oh, I have to go in and correct this. So now every time you go in and make a correction, you have to repull those working papers, those reports, and make sure that when you put them back into Excel, that you've correctly done that, or you have to manually go in and make those edits. And that can be really time consuming and really inefficient and just silly.
yeah,
So yeah,
right.
totally agree with this. Okay, perfect. And there's a wonderful note about Avni who just heard about it today. So he sent it a webinar earlier on this week, but I always love to send a last minute, hey, last minute sign up. So I'm so happy that you could make it on last minute notice. And she's the accountant on the other side and prepares the year-end financial statements, tax planning, and she loves to get clean books. And like, absolutely, this is really going to help you internally for that process. And then maybe even, some of the bookkeepers that you work with to get those files to you or your internal team. So yeah, absolutely. The year-end processes are quite amazing. So here's some of the major steps involved with the year-end close process. You've got your cleanup. You've got to go through your miscoded transactions. And let's face it, cleanup is where a lot of that stuff is done, which is where if you use it on a regular monthly basis, it will cut it down. So I think I started to say our year-end process went from 6 to 8 hours a year, all at once at the end of the year when you're hitting everybody at the same time, down to 3 hours. That 3 hours includes Sandra, who should be on the call as well. And Sandra's, she does, hers is about 2 hours because she's learning. I'm maybe an hour to double check before it goes off to the accountant. If I were to do it myself, I'd be an hour. Xenett's made that much of a difference, but Sandra's still going through the learning phase of learning to be able to step in and recognize all of these. And that's the only reason why it takes so long. Otherwise, we'd be 1 to 2 hours to be able to pull everything together. And it's just absolutely amazing. So yeah, the close process, again, miscoded transactions, duplicate transactions, missing entries, entries without name, uncategorized entries, review expenses. That takes a lot of work to sit down and pull that if you don't have reports ready, or even let's just say in QuickBooks. When I used to do these reports in QuickBooks, I'd have to pull all of these reports, and that is still time consuming. Click on the report, wait for it to open, look at it, then start clicking through. And this is something that you can do all within Xenett or Xenett Go, which has a Chrome extension that's new in 2023. I think it's about a year old. Isn't it, Hardik? About a year old almost?
It's been a year old, but we just actually revamped it entirely in 2023. So that's how it is.
Yeah. And so those who maybe are using it and haven't used the Chrome extension, what happens is that's an overlay. So instead of having, as you're doing the regular work, we still internally do the month-end review where we sign directly into Xenett and use what we have set up there. But the way that the Chrome extension is meant to work, it's an overlay out of what you're working. So if there's any issues as it's happening, this will use the machine learning and be able to pull that out and recognize that as you're going through. So that was a big game changer, Hardik. Like that was great. And it was a huge game changer on that. So like just kudos to you guys. But yeah, so then when you're done the cleanup, then you jump into the bank and credit card reconciles, any adjusting journal entries, so depreciation, accrual, prepayments. You've got your account balance checks. Well, let's make sure these are done right, because let's face it, the person who may be doing the books, and this is actually just to jump here, this is a service that we offer to people who we don't do the books for their year-end books or whatnot. We offer a full deep dive diagnostic review, which we need to talk more about that, Hardik, afterwards in the new year. You know where I'm going with that. But and we use that Xenett to be able to do that. And we have like it's a 50+ page report that we give back to them that is a detailed review. We charge generally 20, between $1,500, $2,500 for that, depending on the size of the file. But we can use Xenett to be able to go through and set things up, and templates are new. I'm just going to say that you can go in and do that, and it just makes everything so much easier. And we can do this. It's a pre-check. So, you don't buy a home inspection or a home without getting a home inspection to find out what's wrong. Instead of sending your books off to the accountant to have the accountant do it, because the accountant's not looking at the details, you're responsible for what's in there. The accountant's looking at the high-end overview numbers. We're already going in and we're looking at the details so that it can be corrected before it goes to the accountant. So that can be an extra service for those smaller companies or somebody who maybe uses an external. Just throw that out there. But if you've got people who don't really know what they're doing, you can find that, you could have a liability account accidentally in a debit balance, or, something on the profit and loss, like an expense account in a credit balance or something. And they don't really know how to recognize if that's right or wrong with the way that QuickBooks Online is, and a lot of people doing their own bookkeeping. Variance analysis. Yeah, we always do that. And you'll see part of our tips are when we work on the year-end working papers for the accountant, we make a note of every single account that has a 10% variance or more, because the accountant's going to ask us. So why not preemptively give that information? So then that way it doesn't slow things up. Who knows? Maybe the accountant's going to lower the price down for the client because they're not doing as, having not to do as much work in the books or cleaner. But you'll definitely have a happier client out of it regardless. So why not go ahead and proactively look up that information? That will also give you information as you're going through of maybe certain conversations you want to have with the client in that upcoming year, which now will advance your advisory services and capacity. If you say, oh, well, your costs went up and your sales went down, let's take a deeper look. Instead of just sell more, spend less, let's take a deeper look at how you can actually save. So it'll help from that. We need to match the beginning balance and then get the year-end package done. So that's a pretty normal close process. I am right now, we're just going to pause for a moment. I'm going to pop up the first poll. So this does qualify for CPE credits. You must answer 2 of the 3 polls to be eligible. So I'm going to pop the first poll up now. And where is it? Why isn't it launching? I'm so sorry, guys. There's been a change here and I can't see polls. Here we are. They've moved everything around. So launch. So we're launching the first poll right now. Are you a current Xenett user? We'd just love to know how many of you are. So we'll give a couple of moments for this. And so far it seems to be pretty close, but we've got a lot of curious people on the call here, Hardik. This is good. Okay, so we've got 81% have participated. So we'll count down from 5 and then we'll close it. Remember, 2 of the 3 polls must be answered in order to qualify for CPD. So we'll count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Some last minutes in there. Okay. So we'll end the poll and we'll share the results. And 52% are and 48% are not, and are here to see what it's like, what it's all about. So that's awesome. Okay. So we will move on. So balance sheet review point. So now we're just going to get right into the nitty gritty. So these are things that you should be looking for to have a smooth year-end close. These are your checklist. Now, there is a great checklist, which maybe Hardik, while I'm kind of talking through this, if you want to grab that link and put that link in as to how that they can access your checklist from your website. I did have it up this morning and it seems to be not on one of the screens I can see now, but there's an excellent checklist that does have there. But again, you guys will get these reviews as well, but it's in Google Sheets. So it's really good in detail. So bank accounts. You want to make sure the bank accounts are reconciled for the period you're reviewing. If they're not, it needs to be reconciled. So we don't even start anything until it's been reconciled. Now in Canada, we like to have the accountants, a lot of them like to have the subsequent month done. So we kind of start our reviews once the year end period is closed, but we don't actually finalize it until the subsequent month is actually closed and reconciled as well. But that does not stop us. Like I say, once the year end is closed, we are ready to go in and start with this. And then that way we just kind of have to, reconcile that last month or the subsequent month, do the attachments, and on it goes. So you're going to, start a review by matching the reconcile balances per the reconciliation statement with the actual bank statement. If it's not matching, look for why. There's a link in the for QuickBooks Online little video, which you will get if you actually use the link that Hardik is going to be looking up and putting up in the chat. But that's good practice to do every month. We do that every single month. When we reconcile, we make sure there's nothing, because again, you could be using somebody who's new or maybe not as experienced. They might have deleted something. I mean, this just happened on my books. I use Right Tool. Right Tool was great, but I found a duplicate. I think I deleted the wrong one. So now I have to go back in and redo this. But I knew right away instead of going through, because my reconcile was off. So that's a good habit to definitely take a look at. But the accountant will question that if it's not done. Review the uncleared checks and consider voiding or writing off checks that are older than 3 months, of course, after confirming with the client. Something to add in here that within North America, and Hardik, you'll have to let me know if this is commonplace globally or not, but in North America, anything that was 6 months or older used to be stale dated, and they used to not be able to catch it or cash it. So it was really easy to go in anything 6 months old. We would just void it or write it off. We actually don't void it, because if you void it, it's actually going to go back and bugger up your past months. But we'll go in and we'll actually write it off and match the balances while we do the reconcile. But with the way that you've got the online deposits these days, something can be cashed that's several years old. That is not caught. So stale dating of checks is not a common practice within North America. So just keep that in mind, that you need to contact the client and say, okay, the client then needs to put a stop payment on that check and then issue a new one. Or you can write it off, and if it's cashed, add it back in when it's cashed, but now your bank balance might not be accurate because you don't know what's potentially outstanding. How does that work globally? Hardik, is it the same thing globally now with the automatic deposits?
Not sure about globally. I mean, I've been kind of just working with the US and Canada, so that's all I can speak about right now. So hopefully we go global and then we find out someday. But right now,
Okay,
gotcha.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect.
Now, Tanya, one more thing I actually wanted to add here is that, do you mind if I just take on the screen for a couple of minutes?
No, of course not. Of course not.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Just confirm me if you are able to see my screen.
Yep, sure can. And I see Nick's here too. Hi, Nick.
All right. So one of the things that I would, and this is what all of our customers have been doing thoroughly, is like they don't wait for the year end or month end to kind of resolve some of these errors. It's like most obvious things. For example, if you know that there are transactions duplicated in your books, you don't wait for anything else, right? So this is where the cleanup mode comes into the picture,
Yes.
where you can literally have a visibility of all of the issues. So it's like, imagine today is 15 December, right? I mean, I have these issues in front of me. I can simply go in, check in, and I can also fix it from here. So whatever I'm left with that I'm not able to resolve, or if I need to ask my client about it, I can just address those questions right now. So for example,
Yes.
let's say there were certain
In the
transactions.
portal, right? In the portal
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
Yes.
Like that. So like, for example, there are certain transactions I'm not sure. I can start addressing those. So this is one of the proactive step that we have been doing from our end. Like, it's like, uh, if there are any issues, uh, then we just fix it on the go. And if there are some that we are not able to resolve, we would make sure to address them to the client. So some of the most common issues like unreconciled entries, where there are some long overdue checks, and then you want to get confirmation from client at times, like what happened, or if you need to write off. So basically, the whole goal is that we can actually avoid the year-end rush if we can identify those issues and fix them in real time. And if we are not, then we can always address it to the client and we can get them resolved at the earliest. I believe this is a practice that have helped really us, especially to have a smoother year end. So that's all I wanted to say in between.
No,
So
and absolutely. And just while you've got your screen up here, that yes, this is what we work from monthly. So we go in, and that's
yeah,
why I say
exactly.
doing the monthly made a difference. So when you go in, you can customize all of these per client. We can add our custom review points, and you can see that there's a number on the side. Ideally, when we're going in, there's a bunch of zeros, but if there's not, we only have to click in because we can see where there's concerns, and we can click in on those. And again, we can customize it if there's something
Yeah,
that we don't want to
absolutely.
see or whatnot. And so just by popping in here and doing that, once you get into good habits, you are
Yeah.
spending maybe only 10 minutes a month in here to save hours at year end. And so
Yeah.
part of this is do this monthly, or even, and again, use the Chrome extension to do this as you're working on top of, then add the 10 minutes a client monthly. Again, once you get things going with it, and then your year end is beautiful.
Yeah. In fact, Tanya, one of the best practice that I would say most of our customers use this, and obviously it's going to depend on client by client. Like, they actually literally spend some minutes. Let's say it's like every Thursday or every Friday, 10-15 minutes. They look at it, they look at the issues and just fix it. So they don't even for the month end close process, they're not gonna wait for month to end. They're literally resolving them on a real time basis, and this has actually tremendously helped them. Number one is that because now you're resolving them in real time, so you don't end up doing kind of so much of these things at the month end. And the second thing is that the junior staff have started getting into this. Previously, identifying errors, not everyone can spot the duplicate entries, right, easily. So sometimes there's some kind of special, I would say, skill that only reviewer can do. So this is one thing that our customers have also done it, where they started training their junior staff to handle some of these things. So at least they don't have to spend much time looking at this kind of stuff. So
No, and that's exactly it, because, and this is where, when we started, way back when, again, I came up with 8 uses of auto review, or Xenett, sorry, bad habits, still auto review, but it's Xenett. And one of that was that I found when our team was working with it, that they were getting more confidence and they weren't coming. And it was, instead of me having to review and coach back to them, Xenett did that for me. And then they felt better and more confident because I wasn't the one coming back over their shoulder. And so absolutely, it's wonderful. So the demo link is in there. I'm also going to put the next poll. We'll have to click yes if you want the demo. So if you don't hit that demo link, that's fine. Just click on the yes one. If you've already registered for a demo on the next one, just click yes, because that'll get you the points anyway. We'll make sure that you don't get 2 calls. But yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm going to go back to screen sharing here.
please.
And I am just going to kind of go through this a little quicker because looking at the time now.
Yeah.
We are going to slideshow. So looking at the time, yeah, we've got a lot to, this always happens. There's a lot to cover, not enough time. So bank accounts, here's your checklist. There's a lot of things that you need to look out for bank account. Why are things uncleared? Again, take a look at that. I've seen people pop in the chat, same thing, that they're finding a year, 2 years later, those checks are being cashed. And yeah, so that's something to really be aware of. But again, don't void. Go ahead and put in adjusting entry to write it off. In which case you're just gonna, put in the opposite. There we go. Petty cash. We're looking at the petty cash. So again, I'm not going to go into these, just strictly the matter of time, but you've got the link in the chat to get the nice review, to download list. And as well, you are going to get a copy of my PowerPoint deck. We need to look at undeposited funds. Why? An accountant's going to ask if there's anything that's sitting there more than a couple of days. You expect something more than a few days, but why? Was it deposited into a different bank account? Did it not exist? Did the money get lost? I mean, there's certain things, but it's to turn around and investigate why. Merchant clearing accounts. Oh yes, merchant clearing accounts. If you ignore them until year end, and you're not using them properly, that is such a huge pain. So absolutely go in there. Make sure we reconcile every single merchant clearing account, just like a bank account. So that way we know your accounts receivable. You're going to want to go in and take a look at that as well. So you can start to see a bit of a pattern here. Inventory. We're basically hitting every account and they're telling you what to look for. Prepaid expenses. You've got your threshold. Maybe there's something that just got put into insurance expense when they paid for it instead of actually being pulled out. Some people do those adjusting entries monthly, and some people do them annually. Either one, that's up to you and your client and how they do the accounting. But if it's not done annually, the accountant's going to do more. Sherry Lee Mathers, who most of you who know me know her as well. And she's a very good friend of mine. And she used to work at one of the big five. And what they told her, and this is many, many years ago, what they told her was that basically every journal entry equated to $100 charge to the client. This is like 20 years ago. Just think about that. So again, if we do our job right here, it's better for the client. And all of these can be set up, checkpoints can be set up in auto review. Employee advances, loans, we've got to make sure all of this is right, to make sure that, the employees got it right. We actually had somebody who didn't check anything through here properly, and it was all off, and an employee had left still with loans sitting here. So this is a really important thing to take a look at. Your fixed asset. So you're looking at your capitalization limit, anything that might have accidentally gone into office expenses, supplies, equipment repairs that potentially should be categorized. That comes up automatically. That's again, one of the automatic reports that Xenett pulls up. And ensure to have proper documentation for each newly purchased asset. Security deposits. Again, we've got to make sure that they're entered properly. We move on to your AP, your credit card. So there's a lot of lists here, which again, in the interest of time, I'm just quickly going through this. Payroll tax liabilities. Canadians, we've got our GST, HST payable, potentially PST payable reports as well. Payroll payable or clearing. Again, make sure that everything's properly going in and out. All of your accruals. Equity, we've got to make sure that everything's proper and that the shareholders agree with what's in there, or the owners or partners agree to what's sitting there in the owner's draw or shareholders loans account. So that's really important for the accountant as well. So that's all the balance sheet. Profit and loss, not as much to look at with the profit and loss. It, depends on, are you, cash or accrual basis, whatnot. We've got to make sure that, there's the proper GST, HST, or value add tax for anybody who's in a VAT country. Looking for inconsistency for vendors and customers. This is actually, it's really interesting. This is what I first did. I work on my books. Nobody else touches my company books but me. Xenett, when I went in and tried it, caught a mistake and an error that I made. I was using a receipt capture app at the time. It was HubDoc. Doesn't matter which one it was. It was a me error, not a them error, because we know that, again, it's machine learning. It's pulling from different parts. And again, this is a long time ago. They've come a long way since. Excuse me. But my HubDoc bill went through, or maybe it was Dex. It was a HubDoc bill. But anyway, it was a HubDoc bill. It went through without pulling out the tax. And this caught it. And it said every single month it was X number of dollars. And this month it was this, it was this number of dollars. And I'd only had one account left on, or one account on HubDoc at the time. And so it was 25, 25, 25, 28.50. And so it's like big flags. Why is this different? Because of the taxes. So this is where it's really good to see if something's different. Maybe it's a higher amount because they've now been charged interest because they didn't pay their bill on time. Again, that, maybe that interest, you want that in a different spot. So there's certain things that it looks for. So again, there's your inconsistencies that you're going to want to look for. Class tracking, locations, make sure all of that's done. One good thing is that you can reclassify. Yes, you can do some reclassifications, absolutely, within QuickBooks accounting tools, but you can do it all in here. You can go through, you can do a lot of wonderful things just right from within the same app, instead of having to go back and forth and refresh and back and forth and refresh. And what happens if their rent, all of a sudden their rent, they've got rent income, or maybe even they are a property management company and you can see rent from certain clients. All of a sudden there's no rent for 1 month. Why? Was it doubled up on another month? Did a person use their first and their last month rent? In which case now we need to pull from the prepaid or the deposits account. So Xenett will pick up things like that. And again, best practices are to use it monthly. And again, it's like 10 minutes a month. Once you get everything set up, I'd say maybe it's about a 3-month on the client to make sure that everything is set up perfectly on the client. I tinker. So I don't know. I set everything up that I think, and then as we find certain things, I find that I tinker with the clients, but it's down to like 10 minutes. So it's absolutely awesome. Payroll. We need to make sure that again, everything is matching properly and is in the proper account. And then general review points, transactions without a pay your name. Maybe they need a 1099 or in Canada, a T4A. We need to know this, and without a pay your name, it's going to be really difficult. So you can pull that. And these, again, this stuff is in here automatically. You can then look for unusual entries, maybe something that hasn't been used. And it's like, oh, is that the wrong account that was used? So just double checking. Maybe it's not, but you just want to double check to make sure they're legitimate. Merging vendors, customers' accounts. So it's going to show you where there's potential duplication, and Dex has a wonderful merge. So all we have to do is it shows us here. I go into Dex, I go into QBO because those are what we use now. Merge them in there, make sure that I've got the exact same name set up, and boom, like that's gone from here. Anything that is not an active account, so anything more than 12 months, you can keep the list clean. I used to have to do all of this manually, and I used to do it every year end. So when, again, Xenett showed me and they had this in here, I was absolutely in love, because we can now do it with the click of a button. The good thing is, if there's a balance, it will not let you shut it off in there. An error will come up and say it couldn't do it because there's an existing balance. So you see those details as well. So you can keep your list clean, keep your data clean. It's really, really nice and good for that. Some extra tips that I have to throw into here is anomalies. We use Xenett to look for those anomalies. So I don't go through QuickBooks until I've gone through Xenett first. So yes, we use the, again, Sandra or whoever's doing the day-to-day uses the Chrome extension. I pop into Xenett, or Sand, whoever's doing the year end, pops into Xenett. We do that clear first. We make sure that everything is either legitimate as it should or is fixed in Xenett. Then we go back to QBO in Canada. And I'm so sorry, guys, in the States. We have a wonderful working papers within QBO, but I want to say there's something comparative in Xenett. Is there not, or is that just coming? working
What,
papers within Xenett, like an
so
action
right,
working papers.
yeah, so right now, we have a way to attach it, but there is a lot of automation is what I'm gonna talk
Okay.
about in 2024. We kind of gonna automate a lot of this working paper. So that's
Okay.
what
So that's
I'm gonna
still
talk about.
coming. That's
Yeah,
still
yeah,
down the
yeah.
road. All right. But
Absolutely.
so yeah. So I work in Xenett first. Then I would go in and do the working papers, or if you don't have access to those working papers, I'm pulling the balance sheet and the profit and loss year over year comparison. Yes, unfortunately, you have to pull it into Excel at that point, or again, you can use here, but we're looking at anything that's a 10% variance from the prior year, and we make notes for the accountant on that. Again, 10% or $100. Anything that is more than, again, if it's a smaller amount, a smaller account, then we go in and we put that I guess that the reasons as to why. And that does not take, it sounds like you're like, oh my gosh, I've got a client that's got 100 accounts. It doesn't take long because a lot of it is the same. If they've increased their sales, obviously their costs are going to increase as well. So usually it's a lot of just copying and pasting and the same type of reason for a lot of things. And then another big thing is all balance sheet accounts should have supporting documentation. The accountants want to see that. They want to see the assets to be able to depreciate it. They want to see the AR, the AP. Supporting documentation is just the list, and the clients kind of sign off. And we also make notes of anything that was paid after the year end on that, so that the accountant can see the full picture. Instead of just that picture, we give them a little bit of, again, anything that was paid within 30, before we send everything off, obviously from the year end date to there, we put that in. Your bank accounts, credit cards, loans, you want your supporting documentation, the reconciles, as well as the statement. So you want all of that in there, and that's going to help keep everything down, keep a very happy accountant, or even the person that's prepping it for the accountant, or if you do it internally, again, the person whose desk it ends up with, it's going to make them really happy at the end of the day. And those are our big tips on that. I would love to, I'm going to pop in the second poll right now. Hardik, is there anything, like, that was it? Do you want to maybe cover what's new, and then we can cover the Q&A afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, I can actually was thinking to show now like how we can set up this checklist inside Xenett. So if you allow me to share my
The
screen
screen
real,
share?
oh,
Absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely. There we go. Okay, so the poll's up there. So even if you've already registered for demo, just click yes, please. Again, we'll make sure that they double check the list. Just click yes, please. Anybody that said no, thank you, you don't get those extra points. So if you want to change your answer, you can do it. And yeah, that's great. So we'll leave that up, and Xenett, Hardik, go ahead and show us.
All right. So you can see my screen, right, Tanya?
Yes, we sure can.
All right. So while cleanup mode can help you find all the different errors, allow you to fix it on the go, we have a separate close module, which is where the whole checklist can be managed here, right? And this is where we can manage either month end close, like individual months, or even the entire year. This is how we have structured, but this is totally customizable, right? So the very first obvious things is that when we are starting the close process, we have these transactional fixes that we want to be taken care, and then we have it assigned to different people, right? So if I have a one person, junior person, and the reviewer, I can assign them here. The best thing here is that while I'm looking at this task, review and categorize entries, I can also look at the counts right in front of me. So imagine this is what I was referring, like I had a task in my Excel file, then I would go to QuickBooks to look at the transactions, and then I would again go to Excel file to say that this is done. Now this is all can be done right here. So like this is my task. I can literally pull up the transactions right here, and then I would say that this is done. If I wanted to ask something to my senior, I can just simply ask the questions right from here, right? So all of the activities that are involved with the close process stays together, right? So that was one piece. This is the folders. These are like different folders in which we have structured or grouped different tasks. The best thing that we do here is this, this is a task that tells me, let's say, review unclear transactions. But then we also have a way. So the Tanya, that the checklist that you were showing me or showing
Mhm.
everyone can be created here. So imagine, like, if I was working on this task, I also know that, hey, I need to follow this checklist. I need to follow this checklist. And I, like, once I check that, I would say that, hey, this is done, this is done. So, like, all of the information that are necessary to do the close are really handy. Now, if the tasks were, like, let's say, little complex, like, let's say you have a deferred revenue task or some sort of complex task, we can even include the step-by-step guidance, like SOPs, right? So my junior staff would not have to go to anywhere else to look at those steps. I mean, they can literally pull those information right here, and then they can do the sign off here as well, right? Now, the working papers part that you were talking about can also be managed here. So the
Okay.
way we have structured here is that while I'm working on my cash and bank account stuff, like, I have also added my bank accounts here. So for example, this is a bank account, it's pulling balance from books. And then I would want my staff to type in the reconcile balance. So this is literally forcing them that they are making sure and confirming that the bank account is reconciled correctly. And I also need them to attach the necessary screenshot or some sort of working papers that justifies whether the balance in bank account, whether the balance in my books is actually correct or not. For example, another example is the prepaid expenses. The balance does not just tell me whether it's right or not. I mean, there has to be some sort of working that should tell me whether the balance is right or not. So I would want them to attach the working papers that will tell me whether the balance is tying to that schedule or not, right? So all of those working papers can be linked, and eventually whatever is done in this close process, when I'm so imagine, all I now need to care is that when I'm looking at balance sheet, I'm just gonna change the comparison here to, let's say, total only. So imagine now, Tanya, all I now need to do, I'm looking at the balance sheet for whatever account. If I have a question, I can easily pull up the balance, like, hey, I mean, the supporting documents. So I
Yep.
don't need to ask, and like, I don't need to go to this folder, or I don't need to request any of these documents from my staff. In fact, we have a practice where if something is unusual, I would want them to put some sort of note. So I already know, like, hey, because of this reason, the balance was low, right? So again, it avoids unnecessary questions. And even, like, for example, I see this account is negative, I can just come here and ask a questions that, hey, what's the deal with this, like, why it's negative. So this completely avoids, like, unnecessary different systems, so you can actually efficiently manage the entire close process inside Xenett. And this is when I say totally customizable, as in, you might have 10 different additional tasks for the year end which can be managed. But then, for example, depreciation, you don't have it on monthly basis at times. So we have a way where you can literally define that, hey, I want this 10 tasks to be managed on my monthly close, but then I want this 15 tasks to be managed or to be taken care in my year end close, right? So that is how we should be able to manage inside the close process. And as I mentioned, this is totally customizable depending on what you follow, right? Like, if something is not applicable, if you wanted to add some more review points or more tasks, you should certainly be able
So
to do
these
that.
so these are your points that you've got in there. So if we want to add, we can whatever, but these are built in there as the template.
Absolutely. So template actually helps you, I mean, it facilitates the whole process. So imagine, once I have created one template, I can then simply import it to my client, right? And I can have multiple templates as well. Like, if I'm dealing with, let's say, restaurant clients, if I'm dealing with doctors, if I'm dealing with hotels, I can have different templates. And depending on what client I'm working on, I can import that template into that particular client. So that way we can manage it here. So
And I have to say, this is one of the things I'm most excited about. And because when we started like working together, you didn't have templates. You didn't have all this type of stuff. And the templates was, although you guys were like, okay, you know, if we can do that, reach out, we'll try to help and set stuff up in the back end. Like the templates was a long time coming. I know a little bit about programming and I know it's not easy, but I appreciate, excuse me, that that's out. And that's actually really, really exciting to me when I saw that. I haven't set up my templates yet, but I'm going to be definitely doing all that over the holidays, setting up all the templates and all that. And then now here's where he's showing you the custom review points. So your custom review points, I just want to bring up. So Lisa asked me, and this is a big thing for Canadians, is the foreign currency. Yes, Lisa, you can set up a custom review point. So when it's anything, or sorry, when it's 1-to-1, it'll pull you because now you know it shouldn't be 1-to-1. In US, it should have the exchange rate. Hardik and I did, and I don't know if somebody like throw it in the chat if you guys want something like this again. I would totally be up for it. We did a 3-part webinar series a couple of years ago, and one of those was we did kind of like Stump the Chump, where we had people come on and say, tell us what you want to see a review point for. And between Hardik and I, yep, every single review point we could match. There was not one that stumped them.
Yeah.
So it's just it's that amazing, guys. It really is. And yeah, it's just that amazing.
And while you're talking about this custom review points, I also wanted to quickly talk about some of the things that we are actually coming up in next week and obviously in the Q1. So your favorite and also a lot of our customers' favorite is, see, right now, whoever uses Xenett knows that custom review points are actually created once you are into the client. So next week, we are releasing this where you can now have a template at the practice level, your firm level. You could say that, hey, I want these 5 or 7 custom review points across all my clients. You will be able to do that, right? So that feature that's going to be available next week. Second thing is that there is a way like recurring questions is what we are coming up with. So those of you who are using client portal, where every month you're going to ask for bank statements or credit card statements or some sort of documents from your clients, so you can set the recurrence, so you don't have to keep adding those questions manually every time. So that's going to be added next week as well. The third important thing is that those of you who use class, we are adding a new feature where you will be able to see if there is a problem with the class. So like, imagine you got 100 vendors and you have been assigning class to those vendors. You don't need to look at those 100 vendors. All you care is that what are the ones that have a problem. So this is a new review point that we are introducing, which is class consistency review as well, where you can see that, hey, this is where you made the error and you can also fix it right from here. So that's also another thing that we'll be adding next week. Now, for the Q1, I can quickly speak about our major focus is that there's going to be 3 major areas that we'll be focusing on. We will be adding a lot of cleanup review points. Our goal is to find as much errors or abnormalities from the books as much we can. So there's going to be the new review points that we will be adding. There's going to be automatic intercompany reconciliation that we are working on right now. So imagine you have three different QuickBooks files from the same owner. You can have the automatic intercompany reconciliation. It can quickly tell you that, hey, you got these transactions not matching. That was one major areas that we'll be working on. Second thing is interactive reporting. When I say interactive reporting, which means that, see, just simply sending PDF financials to clients, I mean, might look good, fancy, but at times, if your client has a questions on those financials, I mean, it ends up into the whole email trail altogether, right? So we are creating an interactive financials reports where your clients can look at the financials, they can look at the transactions, they can ask you questions right there. So it just avoids unnecessary email trails as well. So they have a more power now to look at the reports as well. So that is going to be one of the big thing that will be kind of releasing in Q1. And yeah, there will be a lot of improvements with the client portal as well. So yeah, these were some of the new things that you can expect in Q1. So
Yeah. And this is, there's literally not enough time. We would have to book a half a day to go through everything that Xenett has. Like Hardix touched on the portal, and that's really nice and easy to get classifications and answers from clients and all of, you know, the stuff. And there's so many, it would be like, we actually, I do have a training that I did for a US company, and it was a 3-day training with their team, a 3-day training with their team to make sure that they were all set up and all good to go. There was just so much in here, but it's absolutely amazing. So is there any last minute questions? I know Nick's been answering questions. I've kind of been answering questions here. Sharissa says your template for the comprehensive close is so inclusive and amazing. So yeah, you've done an amazing job, and you guys have. And again, this is where I really give kudos to these guys. Just simply because of the fact that, again, they listen and they understand the pains because they've been in our shoes. And that's, to me, that just makes a big difference, a huge difference. And again, the responsiveness and the listening. So I just can never say it enough. And I know I say it on all the webinars, but again, thank you for that, Hardik. So any last minute questions? You guys all know where to, come on. There, just taking a look here. Yeah, we've got, there's, Hardik's email in there, so reach out. We are at support at mycbs.ca if there's, you know, anything as well too. You know, we've got that, but we are going to be so Xenett can be connected with QBO. Yes. Do you need clients to do anything? No, you don't. I don't like my clients to know that we use Xenett. This is my secret tool. It's my secret tool. If clients really want to, but clients don't know, which is one of the reasons that I'm happy clients go on my wholesale billing, because they don't know about it. Because last thing I want is for a client to turn around and go, oh, you guys use a tool for this. You still need to know that to use the tool. You still need the knowledge. There's still so much that you need to be able to do. The only time a client would be able to see it is that if they are the primary admin, they can see that an app has been connected. That is the only time. If you're, if you are the books, yeah. So yeah, and that's why I like to be. Anyway, sorry, I was just reading everything here, but yeah, so I love the feedback that we've got. It's great feedback. I always love seeing what's new with this, and I do know there's lots of other stuff on the horizon that I'm going to love that I can't talk about right now, but that we are going to talk about what you guys showed me. We need to talk more about that.
That's also Tanya, one of the things that we'll be focusing in Q1. So
awesome. Well, like I say, Sherry and I are looking forward to getting on a call and taking a look and helping you with that side.
Yeah, absolutely.
All I can say is it's going to make things so much easier. You just have to keep watching, keep coming. Okay. So Chris asks, do I normally give primary admin to customers? I do not. I know it's a little different Canada to the US. I like to include the QuickBooks. I like to be primary admin. I don't do it to hold it hostage. I do it for these reasons, that if there's tools I'm using in the background, I don't want for some client to say, oh, I can use that. This is easy. You're using this. You're cheating. No, we still need to know our knowledge. This is just a tool to help us focus in. It's the blinders, helps us focus in on that so that we can turn around and give more value to the client in other ways. Perfect. So I think we've answered all the questions. Any last minute questions? Just reach out. And Hardik is, you must work 24 hours a day, Hardik. That's all I have to say. So but I love it. You guys ever go public, I am going to go in and buy up all the stock that I can afford. That's all I have to say. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. Watch, I will have this email. It'll be uploaded and sent out over the weekend. And again, those who can make it to Facebook Live for the draw, that's great. If not, it's going to be out there and you're all going to get an email. Thank you, everybody. Have an excellent day and weekend, and happy holidays coming up.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. Thank you, guys.
Take care. Bye.